Hi, this is Charlie Setterfield. I want to talk for just a few minutes about a custom template idea in Revit where you might want to rearrange the project browser to match up with your Office standards. So if I go over here, and I'm going to maximize this just a little bit more, drag this guy up. Oops, there we go. And broaden this. And so this is my project browser for this template. I know I'm in the template because up at the top of the screen it's called out as Charlie Project Template. So what I'm going to do is go through this project browser just a little bit. So my views starts off with floor plans and etc. and then legends and then schedules. And so things are pretty well organized. This is how it comes out of the box in a commercial template. But what I want to do is change that around a little bit. One of the things that you might want to do is rearrange your numbering. So a lot of offices are going to have this first floor plan be, instead of A1, be A100. So I'm going to rename or renumber that. So I hover over it with my mouse and do a right click and slide up to rename on that flyout menu there. And the top option is to rename this A100 or 101. I think I'll do 101. A101 first floor and go from there. Notice it stuck it down here. It puts it in numerical order, so I'm going to want to keep doing that. So if my reflected ceiling plans are the 200 series, so maybe that's 201, and then roof plan could be 301, and you get the idea, right? So in the project browser, the way that Revit keeps track of things is basically alphabetical and then numeric following that. So you can make this all match your Office standards. And once you have it set up in the template, then whenever anyone opens the template to start a new project, it's going to be set up for them. Another thing that you might want to do is have standard views on the sheets. So for instance, on this template, the commercial template, on A201 that I just created, it already has the reflected ceiling plan of level 1. But notice on A101 it does not have the floor plan, and I know that because of the pluses that are beside each one of my sheet numbers. And so if there's a plus, then there's something else going on there. There's already an image on the sheet, and the ones that don't have a plus don't have an image. Another thing that you might do when you're planning out your sheets in your project browser is to put standard schedules where they belong. So, like for instance, there is a sheet A13 in this commercial project, and if I double click to open that, that has some basic schedules already put on it. It's a door schedule, room schedule, window schedule. Well, what if on your cover sheet maybe we had a drawing list? Drawing list is what Revit uses instead of the term index. Most firms are going to call it a drawing index. Revit's going to call it a drawing list. Well, that doesn't exist, right? So we got to make that. So let's create that. It's actually a schedule. So the way that we do that is to click on the View tab up at the top of our screen, and in the Schedules drop down, click the drop down, we've got one right there that's called a sheet list. And so click on that and it will get us into the properties dialog for the sheet list. And what it wants us to do is to add what we want on there. Think of this as kind of a fancy way of doing an Excel spreadsheet. So I'm going to slide down into my available fields on the left hand side, and this is all the stuff that I could have included in my drawing index or my sheet list. And I'm just going to put in a couple of things. Sheet number, so I click on that and then I click the add button and that puts it onto the fields. And then the sheet name, I'm going to put that in as well, and then just say OK. So it'll be a pretty simple, pretty straightforward sheet. So there it is. I can make this a little bit bigger to get those names all the way on there, and do some formatting if I want to. To get back into that dialog box, over here in this the schedule properties, you've got these edit buttons. Just click one of those edit buttons and that gets you back into that properties dialog, and you can toggle through those tabs up at the top. And when we do a schedules lesson, we'll spend more time on this. It's pretty straightforward when we're doing sheets. I'm going to click cancel to get out of that. But so now in my project browser, I've got a sheet list under schedules. It didn't appear on any of my drawings or any of my drawing sheets. So what I might do is decide where I want it. If I want it to always be on the A101 first floor plan or on my site plan or whatever, I can do that. I'm going to put it on the A101 first floor plan. This is the one that I've changed to the title block that I created in the title block lesson. So I just go up under my schedules area here and drag that sheet list out onto that sheet, and there I go. I am good to go. Now that will appear in all of the projects that I use this template as my starting point for. Another thing to think about as we're looking at our project browser is to go down here to the bottom of it and look at the families that we have available. I'm going to click the plus next to families to expand that, and then slide this down just a wee bit. So the families are all there. This is where all of the stuff lives that is within our project template. And so I can look at things like the walls that I just created in another tutorial. If I expand walls here, slide that down a little bit, I've got basic walls, curtain walls, and stacked walls. Well, in a previous lesson, I created a wall here that was custom to this project template that was brick on metal stud thin air, meaning that it had a 2-inch air gap instead of a 3-inch, which is the standard in this commercial template. So this is where that stuff resides, whether it's a system family like a wall or a component like the furniture that we were working with when we were looking at desks or entertainment centers. So it's all there in our project browser. When you're bringing in components from other sources other than an Autodesk source, like maybe you went to Revit City and looked at something in Revit City and you liked it and you bring it in, whoever created that component needs to have identified it in terms of its class correctly. So every once in a while you'll find a component that comes in and doesn't get into the right area or the right folder. So you know, you'll bring in a piece of furniture but they neglected to label it furniture. So you'll probably find a pop-up here that says generic model. So you'll have a family that's generic models because they haven't been identified, and that's where you're going to find that missing component. Another thing to keep in mind about the project browser is that it's a dynamic tracking system for all of the views that you have. So for instance, in my views category over here, I've got plans, floor plans, ceiling plans, 3D views, elevations, etc. So as I create new views, those are going to be categorized over there. So let's just real quickly take a look about that. I'm going to put in a series of walls here. Just going to draw some walls there. I'm going to put a floor outside as if I had a porch. Make that a slab, that's fine. I'm going to put in a door there. And let's put a person standing on the porch or sitting on the porch. So to do that, person is actually a component. So I'm going to click the component. I click my drop down over here. I don't see people, but I know I've got them someplace. So I'm going to click on load family. And people actually are in the entourage folder in the Imperial Library. So I double click on entourage to open that folder, and then I'm going to put in a female, so I double click on that. I've got a series of females now available to me in my project browser, starting with Kathy and all the way down to Yin Yin. I'm going to go with Cynthia, the one that came in on my cursor. Click on that and just place Cynthia on my porch standing right there. Okay, so I've got a basic model that I would have going on, and so what I'm going to do is create a little rendering of this exterior. So to create that rendering, so to create my rendering of this exterior, I need to be in a 3D view. I don't render in orthogonal views. I need to render in a 3D view. So to get a 3D view that's going to look like I want it to, I'm going to place a camera to create that 3D view. I could use just the default 3D view that I can get to either on my shortcuts menu up at the top or in my project browser. There's my default 3D, but I want to be a little bit more specific about it, so I'm going to create a view. So I go to the View tab, click the drop down underneath 3D, and I'm going to place a camera view. So I'm going to place that camera in the southeast corner of my view window, and there you go. I've used a lady who is sitting down. Cynthia is sitting down. So I'm going to click on Cynthia, and I'm going to change her to someone who's standing up. Maybe Kathy is standing up. Yes, Kathy is standing up. So I'm going to do that. And then now I have an option down here at the bottom of my view window to show rendering dialog. So I'm going to do that. So I've opened my render dialog box. I can go in here. We'll have a lesson later on where we go in and play with all the settings in here, but I'm going to go ahead and just hit render, and it's going to take a couple of minutes and give me a real rough rendering of what this is going to look like using my materials that I've chosen and all that kind of stuff. Obviously the higher the quality, the longer it takes. And where I'm headed with this is that, Revit is really good at saving everything that we do. It even makes automatic backups for us and all that good stuff, with the exception of renderings. Renderings have to be saved manually to the project. So you've got a Save to Project button over here. If I just hit the Close button, the red X up here in the upper right hand corner of my rendering dialog box, it's going to go away and go away forever. And if I had a complicated rendering with lots of detail that I'd spent a significant amount of time on, I'd probably be kind of ticked off, right? So you have to remember to hit this Save to Project button down here. It's going to let you name your rendering. So I'm going to just name it Exterior 1 and say OK. And my whole point of this, if I click out of this, my whole point was that now my project browser has changed a little bit. So I've got this 3D view 1. That's the view that I'm in. I know that because it's bold. I can name that something else if I wanted to name that render starting or something like that. So I can always go back to that 3D view. That's where my camera is. And then down here at the bottom, I've got a renderings area now in my project browser, and so that Exterior 1 rendering is now part of my project browser. I just double click on it, and there it is.